Hi there guys, hopefully you're all doing well on this stupidly cold morning. I forgot what it was like to work in the winter. It's not fun. The floor gets soaked when the snow melts and you get dripped on when you're underneath the car. It is not fun at all. But today, I've eventually managed to get this 156 on the ramp and it was a struggle with there being so much snow outside. It wasn't fun at all, let me show you. We've got only like a couple of inches, it's now stressful, but when you can't take your forklift outside to tow it, it's a little bit icy underfoot. So today we're going to be having a look at the underside of it because we haven't looked yet, and we're going to be doing the clutch on it if everything's okay underneath. So let's start by getting it in the air and we'll see if it needs any welding. So are you ready to see what it's like under here? The anti-roll bar, I think I said in the last video, didn't look too special. The underside of the spring pans don't look too great. Obviously, everything is going to be a little bit rusty and corroded because it has been off the road for so long. The exhaust looks as though it will last a little bit longer. It is rusty, but we will get some more life out of that. The fuel tank is all mouldy, a little bit of rust underneath coming through. This side as well. The rear, there's been some welding to the back. Would you believe 19,000 miles and it still needed some welding on these rear parts. It doesn't look like too bad of a welds. It's not a tidy job, but I will try and tidy that up and make that look a little better before it goes off to its new owner. The inside of the sills looks perfectly fine. Front subframe is a little crusty, but we'd expect that for the age of the car. Obviously the tyres are going to be replaced. A little bit of crust there, but that looks like it should still be fairly solid. Another repair here, slightly bigger patch. Again, decent welds, but a little bit untidy, but we can see what we can do to make that look a little bit better. And unfortunately, somebody jacked it in the wrong spot, so not much we can really do with that without welding it and pulling it out. So I've seen a lot worse. It's all there and it's all able to be fixed, so we can get the gearbox out now and get cracking on getting it repaired. So let's get the wheels off, get the drive shafts out and start removing the gearbox. So that's the first and the easiest stage. So I'm going to walk you through what I need to do now. First job I need to do is to disconnect the drive shaft. So that involves removing this bolt on the subframe, removing this bolt on the suspension. I am going to drop the subframe a little bit just so I can have a little bit better access for getting the gearbox in and out. So that means I've got to take this engine mount off. Hopefully I haven't got to drop the exhaust because that's a pain in the bum to do. There's two bolts here to remove on the bottom of the gearbox. There's a 15mm bolt up behind there somewhere. And then I can pull the hub forwards and remove the drive shafts, and I'm getting dripped on, so I'm going to move out of here. So once we're at that stage, we can then move the hubs forwards, pull the drive shafts out, which means we can then start working on removing all the gearbox bolts and the starter motor. And while we're under here, we might as well undo, if I can get a picture in there for you, the first starter motor bolt, which is quite awkward to get to, especially when you're holding a camera. Swap hands. Now the other two are on top, so we might as well just reach those from there. It's all gone out of focus, but yeah, you can see that's the bolt I'm undoing. So now we're going to undo that bolt on the sump, which is right in the centre of the screen. And then I'm going to do that one, which is also roughly in the centre of the screen. And now we want to remove the three 10mm bolts which are in here. Let's try and get it in. So now, in order to remove that drive shaft, we need to free it from the hub. To do that, we need to undo this 22mm here and this 19 here, and then we can pull the hub forwards and then push the drive shaft out. Now, in order to make it a little bit easier to get that out of there, I'm going to drop the subframe now because it needs to be dropped anyway. So we've got 3 bolts up there, 2 19s and a 15. It's 4 15s on the transmission tunnel and several 13s along the way. Another 3 on this side and then 1 each side up in there. And that's all we need to do on that side, is just pull it a few inches out so it's free from the gearbox. Now, to get the drive shaft out, I'll just turn it so 2 of the bolts are lined up. Stick your pry bar in there and hey presto, fingers crossed it comes undone first time. No. So I can support the drive shaft with my hand and then hopefully, there we go. We're now done underneath, if I remember rightly. We might want to take the airbox out, but we'll do that from the top. But we've got almost enough room now to get the gearbox out, but we need to undo everything from the top first. So from the top, we're going to remove the battery, we're going to remove the battery tray, we're going to remove the air lines and probably the airbox to give me that little bit of extra room. And we're also probably going to unbolt the throttle body so I can get my hand behind easier to access the starter motor. And I'll say thanks to James for sending me these because he's always noticed my broken gloves in the video. So I'll give these a go and see how they get on. So far I've put them on and they haven't split. Oh, now removing that has revealed the 2 bolts on the starter motor, which are now nice and easy to access. One done. Oh, it's tight, that is so tight. Oh my god, the world's bloody longest bolt. Now the starter motor keeps dropping and you can't get 2 hands around there to hold it up and then also under the bolt. So take me back to the summer where it was like 30 degrees and you were sweating while you were working, because I do miss that. 5 months of the year in the UK, it's just shockingly bad. Oh, come on, bolt, you're doing my nutting. It gives you cramp in your hand when you're trying to undo bolts, and it just gets so uncomfortable and unbearable. It's like you're being tortured. There ain't no way that bolt is still in there, and it's not, it's stuck in the starter motor. So now I just need to knock it out. So what we've got left to do, we've got the 2 gearbox bolts along the top, we've got the clutch pipe to undo, and we've got the gear cables to undo. Now, they can be a little bit of a pain in the bum just getting those clips out, but it should hopefully be straightforwards. Down here, there's a little clip which you just need to lift up or pull out, holds the clutch hose in, which also doubles up as a bleed. So put that in a safe place, because if you lose it, you're in trouble. With a bit of wiggly waggling, pull out. But I guarantee you, it's not going to come out easy because of how long it's been sitting for. Because I put a clip around it, the brake fluid won't leak out, so it shouldn't take much bleeding. 2, and that's your lock, and there's another one at the bottom that I need to undo. So I think that is everything now. But you are going to want to triple check, because once I put this up in here, I'm going to put the gearbox stand underneath the engine, so I'm not going to be able to lower it down. So getting access to the top is going to be a pain in the bum. And the last bolt is underneath here by the exhaust, which again can also be a pain in the bum to undo. But this one is okay, but it's just a slow grower because you've not got very good access. And you can't put a ratchet spanner behind it for too long because there's a nut behind it supporting the exhaust. So the slow way is the only way, I'm afraid. So 5 hours later, we're here with the bolt, but it doesn't come all the way out because of this bracket here. So just leave it there and just make sure it goes in right when you put the gearbox back in. So the last two things to do are support the gearbox, and then we can undo and take off the engine mount. And then we can try wiggling it out of that little hole. And that's it, folks, we're all free now. So now we need to lift the engine up a bit and see if we can pull the gearbox forwards and then drop it down. The power steering pipes were hitting the gearbox, so I couldn't quite get it out, so I had to undo the power steering rack, which is two 21mm bolts if I remember rightly, and then we got plenty of access to get it out. So as you can see here, the thrust bearing has completely come apart, and it's the reason why the car won't go into gear anymore. Yeah, that's completely and utterly seized. Italia, you can see that works. Pop that up through the hole. And nice to know you do get a brand new pin with it. Yeah, nothing wrong with that clutch. But the eagle-eyed viewers out there will notice I still put a brand new clutch in it, not skimping on this little beauty. You'll also notice I've just screwed in the clutch alignment tool just to get the clutch plate in line with the clutch and the crank. So now we'll just tighten it all up. Perfectly aligned. Extra 10 bonus points if you can work out what this song is sped up by 2 times. So gearbox is back on and held in by 3 bolts. So what I'm going to do off camera now is just get it to the point where the engine mount's back on, it's back bolted to the body, and then we can put the clutch on and make sure the clutch is bled up and the clutch works. So gearbox is all bolted back onto the engine apart from the back bolt. I'll do that when I do the starter motor. Engine is now bolted up to the frame as well. So all we need to do now, because we don't want to put the whole car back together and then bleed the clutch and then realise we've got a problem with it. So we'll get it to the first point you can actually bleed the clutch and then get back in the car, and then you can sort the clutch out first, and then making sure that you're not wasting your time putting the car back together. So this little part needs to push all the way in, and you can see that's where it would normally sit when it is all bled and working properly, but we need to pull it out one little click and then remove the lid off here. And then remove the top to the brakes, and then pop our bleeder on there. So now, when I start pumping this, putting some pressure in it, we should start to get some fluid coming out of here. keep that going for a while until all the air comes through. I'd say that is about it. So all we need to do now is push it all the way back in, pop the clip all the way down, make a mess when we take the lid off. There we go. And that is one clutch bled. So now we need to get in the car and see if that pedal's any better. Not yet, I want to bleed that again. So round two, sometimes it can take 3 or more attempts to bleed a clutch. Just depends on where the air's stuck in it. Sometimes they like to be bleeded by pedal only. As you can see, we're coming through again, and there's more air in there. So leave me to do this, and then fingers crossed we'll have a working clutch in a minute. Second attempt. Ugh. If I can get in. Yep, that's fine. We've now got clutch pressure. So we now have clutch. I'm going to throw the subframe back on, put the gear cables back on, starter motor, throttle body, just to the point where we can start it, and just double check we've got gears and we've got clutch and we can move backwards and forwards. So crack on. Join me in a minute when it is all done. I'm not going to film it because you've already seen it come off, so just film it through your head in reverse. So it's now the following day because I ran out of time doing it. So clutch pedal feels absolutely fine, and gear selection is also fine too. I'm not going to start it up just yet because the CAMBELT kit has arrived, and I'm going to get that done first so I don't have to worry about any CAMBELT-y breakageness going on. So let's get cracking with that. Now, if you want to see a full CAMBELT guide, I do have a video on it. I will try to remember to put it in the description and also put a link in the video above your eyes now. Removing the auxiliary belt to access the CAMBELT cover bolts. Now I'm removing the crankshaft pulley. And when this finally comes off, it will give me access to the last 2 bolts which hold the cover on. It will also allow me to remove the cam belt. Cover is now free and can be moved out of the way. TDC, top dead centre gauge, is being screwed in now. Now I'm rotating the engine to top dead centre. And there it is. Now I'm putting the cam locks on. And now I'm undoing the tensioner for the cam belt. The belt was really tight, so I decided, sod it, I'm just going to cut the belt off because I'm never going to use it again, just to make life a little bit easier for me. The condition of the belt was still perfectly fine. To be honest, you could have probably got away with carrying on using the cam belt if you really wanted to, but personally I would never risk it on a cam belt at that age. Cam belt is going on. This was also really tight to get on. All done, all timed up. Now we're just going to rotate the engine a few times and then put the cam locks on and double check top dead centre, and then we're good to put it all back together. And there you can see, all perfectly timed up and at top dead centre. noticed that the engine was a little bit uneven and lumpy because I'd forgot to plug in the throttle body. Right, everything is all back together. Engine now starts. I've managed to put the engine warning light on because I forgot to connect the throttle body, so I'll sort that out in a bit. Let's see if we'll move backwards. Yeah, forwards. Forwards, no problem at all. First, second, third, fourth, fifth is perfectly fine, and reverse is there somewhere. Yep, there it is. Backwards. Yay. I think that is a job done. So I've just got a few bits just to finish it off. I just want to check the oil level again once it warmed up and cooled down again. I've got to check the coolant level and make sure that is strong enough because it's not at the minute because I put a bit too much water in. And that's it. I've just got to finish changing the oil and changing the air filter. And once we've done that, we can go for a test drive. There we go, it's just a little tiny tick which is coming from the lifters, and that should disappear with a little bit of use or even just warming up the temperature, and that should disappear. But other than that, that does sound really good. So there we go guys, I think we will leave that video there. As you can hear, it is a lovely sounding car and it will make somebody a really nice car. As you can tell from this, it is going to be up for sale, so if you are interested, let me know. Haven't got an idea on price, but as it's so rare, I imagine it's going to be between 4 and 5 grand, I imagine. I am going to be getting it on the ramp again and checking a few other bits out and getting the bodywork sorted, but other than that, there isn't really much more to film on it. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.